What's up YouTube, Winterguard here. Today we're going to get into a little bit of a build video. So I recently switched lightning. I was doing Baal runs and I figured I'd try it out just to see how it felt. Lightning is my preferred spec, but lightning is also probably the most heavily reliant on gear. So it's kind of a top tier end game build, but I wanted to see what it felt like doing Magic Find runs various places. There's advantages and disadvantages to certain areas regardless of spec. So I went through all of them and just to get a feel. I kind of knew how it would play out, but I just wanted to test it out. So we're going to get into that today. I'm going to go through lightning build, what you should probably look at as far as your main attacks. There's really only one, two if you want to mix it up a little bit. You could also get into maybe Charge Bolt, not my favorite. I prefer to go straight lightning. But we'll go ahead and get into it real quick. First off, let's get into the spec first, not the gear. Let's get into the spec. So, as you might expect, straight down the tree, since lightning is going to be your preferred attack, max lightning, and I always go from this, and I don't do synergies first. I go to mastery because you want the spell penetration to help with increasing damage against little more resistant monsters and bosses. So as you can see, it also does when maxed out at skill level 30. I got plus 10 through various items. You see it's another 398% damage. So you want to go here second. Synergies, Chain Lightning, and if you also notice, Chain Lightning and Lightning both have the same synergies. So you can kind of play around with both. If you look at my Lightning damage, it's 4 to 15, 724. So here's the disadvantage to Lightning. There's a huge min and max damage range on this. So you can literally hit for 4 damage with one of your shots. So that's one of the disadvantages of Lightning. But again, on the converse of that, you can hit for 15,724. So lightning is, as far as top end damage, is probably the highest. So I like it. It's kind of my favorite build. But again, we'll get into the gear and why that's more important. And you could go with Chain Lightning if you like to see the spells bounce. I think with Chain Lightning, you would think of that as being almost more of an AoE type thing, but I think Lightning actually works better for that, and the reason why is Chain Lightning has 11 hits, which if there's that many mobs within the range of it, it will hit 11 times, so you get that, but if you kite correctly, you will hit a lot more with Lightning if there's that many more monsters in the area. If you kite backwards enough, they'll start to line up, and lightning penetrates all of the monsters in front of you. So it can hit as many as will line up. It does have a range to it, an end range, but it's way more than you're gonna even really need. So I prefer to go lightning. I haven't messed with any of the other ones that much. I've seen people run Charge Bolt. I don't think it's that good, to be honest with you. And I've seen people run Nova, which is decent, but it puts you in a lot of danger because you're going to be within close proximity of mobs. I mean, you can really kite well with Lightning, and if you run it with a Merc that has the Frost aura, Lightning is just extremely powerful. And let's get into the gear a little bit. So right now what I'm running is your standard Magic Find set. Outside, most people will run like Aki here versus the Hodo. I went for the Hodo with one more skill point for damage. I got not a great Viper, so that can still be upgraded. Maybe a Trang, or not Trang, excuse me, Tal chest, or just a better Viper in general. There's a couple options you have here. The Shaco, 35 cast Spirit. I only have a +1 amulet, so that can be improved. I got the Iraq for skills. Got Sandstorm Treks, mainly for the strength. I needed that to get to my min strength for spirit. Chances for Magic Find and various charms for Magic Find. So, what I mean by more reliant on gear is what you'll want to do to make lightning more effective. The best weapon here, in my opinion, I mean, there'll be people that have different opinions on this. You probably want to run an Ashutas, which I'll pop the specs up on it. It adds lightning damage because and you could also get +3 on an Ashutas versus +2, say for an Aki, for instance, uh, which would give you the same amount of skills as the Hodo, but it has the effect of having more lightning damage on it. Also, the top tier slot here for, and I guess it depends. If you're going to Magic Find, you could run Shakos and that'll be good. If you want to see the full effect of lightning, you want to run a Griffin's Eye here, which again, that's a really expensive rare item. So that's what I mean by more top tier as far as the gear for lightning spec. If you really want to see stuff melt, you want to shoot us here and the Griffin's Eye here. Now, to make this even a little more expensive, and it's not even the gear for you, it's the gear for your merc. To make this a top tier end game build, you want to use an infinity weapon on your mercenary. And for those that don't know, infinity is extremely expensive. It's a 4-socket rune word and it uses the same base as the insights, but it's, I want to say off the top of my head, it's burr, 2 burrs, a mal, and an ist. I'll pop it up on the screen so you can see. So 2 burrs is just over the top expensive. Probably the most sought after runes for not only just the infinity, for Enigma. Burr is just expensive. So that's what pushes this over the top. But the aura you get from the infinity pretty much breaks lightning immunities for just about every mob. There might be a boss or two that maybe it won't break. It seems like, if I remember correctly, on the Cow King, even if he's lightning immune, the infinity won't break that immunity. So there's a couple instances where it doesn't, but everything else with the aura from the infinity will break all lightning immunities. So that's what makes lightning so gear dependent. There's multiple items that if you want to optimize it, you need those. But as you'll see in the runs I show with various bosses, you can run lightning pretty effectively. There's just going to be some places that are better than others. So I'll get into that and show you guys where you probably want to run if you want to play around with lightning. It's like, again, it's my favorite build. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to it, even though Blizzard's probably better for me as far as magic finding. Lightning to me is just more fun. We'll go ahead and go through the different areas, and I'll show you what it looks like to magic find in the different boss areas. If you like what I'm doing, give me a like, a subscribe, comment. I try to read and comment back to everybody in the comments, and the community's growing, and I really appreciate it. We'll have the Discord server up shortly, and when I mean shortly, within the next day or two of this video releasing. But let's go ahead and get into the different areas that you can magic find with lightning. Okay, first area we're going to get into is Andes. Andes is not too bad. The only time you're going to have to deal with any kind of immunities, and yeah, these guys here. The Afflicted are lightning immune, so those you'll have to let your merc take care of. But outside of that, that's the only issue you might run into, and they're not always going to be in here. As far as Andy herself, I mean, you can shoot her from off screen. She's usually going to be right up the middle. Not always the case. Sometimes she'll be off to the side a little bit, but most times she'll be right up the middle. But just in general, if you got any kind of skills levels, Andy's is not going to be a problem. So lightning, pretty much not that big of a deal here. Okay, the next place we'll talk about, this is the pits. The only thing here that would potentially give you an issue, there's no lightning immunes except for these guys, the archers. Archers are always a pain in the butt. This will have you either skip these or let your merc handle it. But these will be the only lightning immunes in here now. And also, there's only 4 different mob types that spawn here to begin with, so there's always a chance that they will not be here. They usually spawn 3 different ones, so there's a chance that you'll get runs where there's no archers at all. And you'll get the melee guys, or the Devilkin will always be here. It'll rotate between the skeletons, the melee, I don't remember their name, the archers, and this one, of course, is going to be a heavy archer one. Out of habit, I shoot them. Yeah, the skeleton guys there. Looks like we didn't get the melee ones this time. It'll be the same as the archers, just the melee version. So pretty straightforward. I think it kind of, it'd be the same with cold. There's going to be, well, I take that back. There's 2 cold immunes in this one. So cold has a little bit less of an advantage here. With 1 lightning immune mob versus 2 cold immunes. So if you like to run the pits, you will have a little bit of an easier time with lightning over cold. I might get into fire at some point. I haven't spent a lot of time playing fire, so not my strong suit, but we might do a fire build and just see how it plays out, same way. Next place we'll talk about is cows. Cows pretty good with lightning. Usually though, the Cow King is lightning immune, so that's probably the only spot you'll have an issue. I think he's always lightning immune, and then he'll either be fire, physical, or cold as his second immunity. So this is where you'll run into, I would say it's an issue if your merc can handle it. As you can see here, see he's lightning with cold, so if you were cold immune or had cold Sorc, you'd run into issue with this particular one. But I just let my merc handle it. So, but that is one thing, he will always be lightning immune. And then he'll have a secondary immunity, which could be physical, cold, or fire. So that's one place if you want to call it an issue. I usually let my merc handle it. You can usually burn down mobs pretty quick regardless. If you want to speed it up a little bit, you can static charge. But cows usually not that bad with lightning. As you can see, you got to play it a little different. You got to line them up. So you got to kind of kite in a direction if you have multiple packs to where they'll fall in line. So there is a little bit of a play style with lightning that you might not like. I usually try and find an angle where I'll be shooting lengthwise through a pack of mobs. So it's something that you might need to get used to. But like I said, this is my favorite spec, so I've played it quite a bit. So I usually know how to get things kited up to where I can shoot through multiple packs at once. Okay, so now we're on to Meph. And this is one that usually I just like to bounce to Meph. And I think Meph has some maybe a little higher lightning immunities than cold, but usually you can just burn her down pretty quick. Hit the super chest. So in this case, if you had to choose an area, maybe you're tired of meth. It's not top tier for lightning. There are issues. You can burn her fairly quickly, maybe a little slower than cold, but she's not my favorite farming area, so it doesn't really affect me a whole lot. What we'll get into next is where I think lightning shines, is in Chaos Sanctuary. So we're in Chaos next, and this is where I think lightning is probably the best place to farm. The only thing that's lightning immune here are these Stormcasters, which are usually really easily killed by your mercenary. But everything else is not immune, so you can usually just burn through them fairly quickly. So this is kind of my favorite area to farm anyways. I might have mentioned that before in previous videos. So that's why I love playing lightning, is farming this area. This is a top tier spot for me, and you can get some really great drops here. Usually with cold, you have an issue with these packs because the Venom Lord, or the not Venom Lords, the Oblivion Knights are lightning immune, which are the casters. And so they're kind of a pain in the butt. You got to teleport on them. They'll cast Decrep, slow your Merc down. So there's just a real pain in the butt to deal with. These, I think your Merc have a better time with, even though they're lightning immune. They're a lot easier to kill by a mercenary. So I think the advantage still lies with lightning here. And Diablo, he's not much different on lightning than he is on cold. You just static him down and just burn him. He dies really quick. So that's Chaos Sanctuary. Pretty straightforward and simple with lightning. So I definitely would consider this one of the top areas to farm if you are going to go lightning. Okay, next one we're going to talk about. This is actually the three specials: Pindleskin, Eldritch, and Shenk. Now, I did the video on Pindleskin, and I only did that just to show running Pindleskin as far as drops. But normally, and most people will do this, they'll run these three. Now, they're a little more difficult because, well, Pindle's pretty much the same. But you'll run into cold immunes oftentimes at the other two. Now, occasionally Pindle can be lightning immune, but usually not the case. Ooh, did him.
I am overburdened.
Interesting. Huh, okay. Actually, we'll hold on to that because we'll re-roll it with Peace Skulls. Anyways, as I was saying, once you go up here, now you're going to start running into some cold immunes that makes this, not necessarily difficult, but with lightning, it's absolutely nothing. Like her plate. It's teasing me. As you can see, these guys down here are cold immune. But with lightning, you just blow this up. Not that big a deal. Farm this really quick on lightning. Okay, now we're going to get into Baal. This will be the last one, and we'll get into his various packs. Now, most of these, I think the only pack that you'll have to deal with maybe a lightning immune is the third pack. I think Bartuk is lightning immune. But I think outside of that, everything else you can just burn. One thing you don't have to deal with this pack is that the little skeletons are cold immune. So they could be a kind of a pain in the butt sometimes. As you can see, the packs are just easily burned down. Now, and I will say this, I'm not optimally geared right now. I probably should be switched to an Ashudas for the added lightning damage, but still burning stuff pretty quick. Towel mask, never get those. Same trick on Baal. The one thing you can do with lightning is to outrange his mana burn. Well, actually I have to outrange it. Usually it's just, I don't bother, I just go in there and fight him. Usually the regen's so fast I don't have to top mana pots that often. And that's Baal. Alright, so just as in conclusion, I think Cold is probably the most played spec right now as far as sorceress, and with good reason. The slowing potential, kiting, just overall strength. Cold is really good, probably top tier, and you don't have to have great gear to play Cold. But I just as a personal preference, I like lightning. It's a lot of fun, a little more challenging, but if you put all gear into perspective, I think lightning is actually way stronger than cold once you get to a certain point. So that I probably won't get that gear. I mean, it's pretty expensive. Like I said, you have to have a Griffins. The shooters are not bad. You could get into the shooters pretty cheap. But the kind of having the requirement on the infinity for your mercenary, that's where things can get a little iffy. That's a lot. That's a big outlay for gear. So, but it's not required. It just makes lightning just honestly, if you have the infinity on your mercenary, lightning's just OP. It's probably too strong. Nothing stands up to it. Stuff melts in one or two shots. It's just crazy. I mean, if you've ever played with that, you'll know that it's a next level once you get into infinity on your mercenary. And well, and let me just add one other thing. The breakpoints are a little different for lightning. I could get it. I don't know the exact reasoning. I could get into that, and we'll maybe post up a link as to why. But whereas you have a 105 breakpoint for your cold spells before it jumps to 200, for lightning it's 117. So a little weird. I think it has to do with the length of the cast for a lightning bolt, so that you can't spam them on top of each other. So, and what I mean by length of the cast, the length of the spell itself, the visual effect of lightning versus, say for instance, just your ice blast or something. You can spam that a lot quicker, but they added more to the cast time for lightning so that the break point, whereas it's 105 for cold before it jumps to the next break point, it's 117 for lightning. So there's that to take into consideration if you want to play that. See, my FCR is at 135, so it's not noticeable. But if I was at the 105 break point and switched to lightning, I would lose a frame in casting. So take that into consideration. If you're thinking about doing it, you have to have at least 117 for that break point. But outside of that, give it a try. I'll probably look at the fire next. I have played fire some, and I think meteor is probably the main fire spec. But I'll look into it. Maybe we'll do a fire build and play around with it a little bit and go through the different areas and see where it has an advantage or a disadvantage. But I hope you guys found this useful. Again, leave me a like and a subscribe if you got something out of this video. A couple things as far as the community. I will be starting a new series that I think you guys will like. Details to follow. and I will have the Discord up shortly so that we all can hang out, get together, and maybe do some trading, do some group runs. We'll see. I'm open to suggestions, but we'll leave it there for now. Keep on farming.